Mr. Lee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to all of you for being here. We're honored by your presence and grateful for all you do for us to keep us safe. As we look across the array of threats that we face around the world, there are two threats that stand out and that cause a lot of us to worry. One is ballistic missile attacks, and the other one is cybersecurity-related threats. So I'm glad all of you are here because you do a lot of work in this area, and I'm grateful for that. Secretary McKeon and Admiral Gortney, I'd like to ask the two of you some questions about the cost-benefit analysis that we have in this area. The United States has spent many tens of billions of dollars over the last 3 decades on missile defenses. It's a large sum. It's a sum that's drawn some criticism, and it's a sum that, regardless of how you feel about that criticism, is one that we have to pay attention to. But in much the same way that other technologies, like, for example, drone technology, cost us a lot of money to develop at the outset, but in the end has saved us and has even more potential to save us down the road a lot of money, because compared to other aircraft systems, manned aircraft systems, for example, in the long run, we can actually save money. In the same respect, how and in what respect, to what extent, could having a reliable missile defense system help us save money for the military and for the government over the long haul?
I guess when you look at the ballistic missile threat, there's actually 2 types of ballistic missile threats, and it's the theater ballistic missile threat that we have service members and service members' families that live underneath that threat today, and then we have the ballistic missile threat, limited ballistic missile threat that we've designed for the homeland. I think what's important where MDA is moving on the technologies is where is there efficiencies to get us on the correct side of the cost curve, not just engage in mid-course for both those threats, but keeping them on the ground, left of launch, having the surveillance to be able to strike them, provided we have the rules of engagement to do that, killing them in boost phase, and then through the mid-course phase. And a lot of those technologies that you all have provided the funding for the research and development, MDA is using that will be able, a lot of it will be able to apply to both those particular threats. And I think that's where where we have to really view that's where the savings will be, because they're different. They differentiate by range of a threat, but the technologies to counter them can be the same where the necessary technologies can be.
Thank you, Secretary.
The only thing I'd add, Senator, I think the way we would think about missile defense in a very broad sense, both regionally and our homeland missile defense, is it's a deterrent against rogue states or nations engaged in activity that we disagree with. And so in addition to our own missile defenses, we're encouraging a lot of partners in the Middle East and in Asia and to acquire missile defenses in the theater. So for example, in Iran, we're working to counter Iran and its missile capabilities. We're working very closely with our partners in the Gulf to encourage their acquisition of missile defense systems, as well as knitting them together in terms of the early warning. And so that is a deterrent that over the long term will save, we believe, money in other respects.
Thank you. Admiral Gortney, let's talk about North Korea for a minute. I'd love to get your assessment of where North Korea's ballistic missile technology is headed in the next few years, and then evaluate our ability to keep up with it and respond to that.
Okay, well, the intel community assesses North Korea's ability to successfully shoot an ICBM with a nuclear weapon and range the homeland is low. But as the commander in charge that is responsible for defending that homeland, who owns the trigger to shoot that down, we don't base our readiness levels upon that low probability. We assess, it's the prudent course of action as the commander, we assess that he has the ability to do that, and we're prepared to engage that particular threat today and in the future, 24 hours a day, 365 days out of the year. Eventually, we assess that his low probability will increase, and that's why the investments to have us outpace that technology, his ability to field that capability is absolutely critical.
Thank you, Admiral. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.